Hello and welcome back to Walk the Cinema podcast, where we walk the cinema so we can talk the cinema. Today's episode, we will be discussing 12 Angry Men. So, 12 Angry Men. Why don't you give us the plot synopsis this time?
The title kind of says it all. It's 12 men in a room for most of the movie. I think all but 3 minutes of the movie. They're in one room and they're jurors in a murder case that appears to be very obvious, but one of the jurors doesn't think so. And yeah, we get a murder case of a young man. We don't know his ethnicity, and that's kind of part of the mystery of it.
Mm-hmm.
But we know he's not white. That much is explained. And the proof seems very obvious that he's the killer and he's guilty.
Mm-hmm. Because it's a murder trial of his own father. They talk about how the neighbors there was a whole bunch of neighbors that said that they saw him do it or had proof that he did it, but it all seems a little bit circumstantial. But I mean, to people that didn't really care enough to give him a fair trial to begin with, it was kind of a clear-cut case, you know?
Yeah, and the jurors know that if they find him guilty, which 11 of them are willing to do straight out the bat, he will get a death penalty. Mm-hmm. Or a life sentence.
I think it is a death sentence.
Okay, yeah.
So, there was a specific juror that he just wants to catch his baseball game. He wants to get in, get out. He's like, this is pretty obvious case. He's guilty, obviously. Let's go home. Nobody had much thought into, okay, we have a life here that is on the line if we find this person guilty. We literally determine if this person, this 18-year-old kid, lives or dies. And only one person, Henry Fonda, has any type of humanity for him.
I don't think he particularly thinks he's innocent, at least at the beginning. He just doesn't for sure know he's guilty. Yeah,
he thinks that it would be wise of them to spend a little bit more than 10 minutes thinking about this case. Yeah. He's not sure if he's guilty or not. He's not saying that he's innocent, but he does want to spend more time on the trial than just...
Yeah, and this movie takes place basically in real time. And it's rather short still. It's like an hour and a half. Mm-hmm. But there's this increasing tension throughout it that is also visually accomplished by the director here. Mm-hmm. Where it starts with wider shots. I think the camera is a little bit higher.
Yeah, I read that he used a different focal length. He gradually started changing it.
Yeah, I think the camera went from being higher to lowering to show them closer together.
Yeah. To give a sense of anxiety.
Yeah, and claustrophobia. Yeah. It's very well directed, and he was Oscar nominated for the directing. Also Best Picture, and I think writing. Mm-hmm. And when it came out, it didn't make a lot of money. It wasn't a box office success.
No, it hadn't reached its level of notoriety until I think it was released on television.
Yeah, it really didn't win much. It didn't make money at all. Mm-mm. And yeah, even the director was a little upset with the movie, but it aged really well.
I agree. It aged extremely well. And is probably my favorite courtroom type drama movie, even though it doesn't really take place inside of the courtroom. It takes place after the case has been presented. But it's very well done. And it does make you, I think, everybody has prejudices in their lives. And I think that, this is a great example of how you kind of already determine someone's guilty just by looking at them.
It's also the group dynamic that you feel like if everyone else thinks he's guilty, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, pretty much, because there was another juror, I forget which juror, the numbers, but one of them was like, oh, I don't know if he's guilty, but everybody else seems to think he's guilty. So
it's the easy way out. You don't blame yourself for the kid's sentence because it's 11 other people with you. And those 11 people are making the choice for you, so you don't feel like you're at fault if the choice is wrong. You don't even think about it being wrong or not. It's the group dynamic that shows this. It's a real psychological example, I guess, of group dynamics and peer pressure.
Yeah. And I mean, it's Juror 8, who is Henry Fonda. He's the one that stands up and says we should examine this more. And, like, I feel like people that do that you have to be a really strong personality to go against a group like that. You
everyone's
know?
Gonna hate you.
Everyone's gonna hate you. Everyone does hate him for a time, you know? And, like, it's really hard, I guess, to stand your ground when you have 11 other people telling you you're wrong or telling you that you just need to go with the group so everyone can leave because he's the one that's holding everybody up.
Mm-hmm.
You know? But so they, like, throughout the film, they try to examine the evidence.
Yeah.
And, like, kind of one by one, the other jurors kind of find the defendant not guilty, or at least not guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, which is what most judicial systems require.
I mean, I think a lot of them at the end just straight up don't think he's guilty at all.
Yeah.
Because the proof just isn't there if you do a deeper analysis of it beyond surface level.
Yeah, because at the surface level, like, everything lines up. Like, one of the neighbors heard the kid say, "I'll kill you."
But then that got, debunked because how could you hear them say that if at the same time
there was a train?
Yeah, the woman from across the street said there was a train, so you couldn't hear it.
Yeah.
If a train was going past. And also she couldn't see it because she would not have time to put her glasses on because she wouldn't be wearing her glasses in bed, which someone noticed she didn't wear her glasses to court because she was vain, I guess. She wanted to appear younger. Mm-hmm. But she still had the glass marks on her nose.
Yeah.
And the knife. They're talking about how the knife was unique to him, but juror number 8 bought it quite easily down the street from the courtroom.
Yeah, because that was also a big thing. They were like, oh, this knife he had bought from somewhere, and this was, like, his knife. It was a one-of-a-kind type knife found at the crime scene.
Mm-hmm. But he found at a pawn shop across the...
Yeah. So it's not one-of-a-kind. So that's, like, a piece of, I would say, substantial evidence from the prosecutor that got debunked pretty quickly.
All of the evidence got pretty much debunked. The man walking across his apartment. Mm-hmm. They did that's probably the funniest scene in this. It's not a very funny movie overall.
No.
But that's the funniest scene to me is him reenacting the old man walking.
Yeah.
For the 41 seconds.
Yeah. And, it's just, as the film goes on and they do that, like, jury number 8 says that, we'll do a secret vote.
Yeah.
And he'll abstain. And if everybody still votes guilty, then he'll vote guilty and they can get out of here. But someone does vote not guilty after that.
The first time around they do that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And, it's... people start to accuse others.
Yeah, they turn on each other.
Certain things. It's like, oh, because you also lived in the slums, like, you're the one that voted not guilty. Or because you are an immigrant.
Yeah.
It's, people start to turn on people when things aren't necessarily going their way. And they'll pick anything that...
Some of them clearly just wanted to get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't care for justice. But then with the evidence being in their face, they started feeling guilty.
Mm-hmm.
Of just judging this kid and not looking at anything beyond what was put in front of their faces.
Yeah. And I mean, there's, like, other things about the case that Juror 8 kind of disproves. Like, when the kid told his dad, "I'll kill you," they kind of took that as a threat, like an actual threat, but then juror number 8 kind of revs up another juror to get him to say, I'll kill you, or I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
And, you know, most people don't actually mean that when they say it. It's just kind of out of anger or
frustration. You still shouldn't say it.
No, you still shouldn't say it, but most people when they say it don't actually mean they're going to do it.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's not a good enough reason to think that this kid killed his dad. And, I mean, they do go into other things like,
the movies.
Why would he... Yeah, the movies.
Yeah, the movies that... You said he couldn't remember the name of the movies, and they were like, oh, he's lying. But then when you ask, what movie did you watch last week? No one knew.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like even if you watched a movie that night and you're being questioned by police after your father's been murdered and you're the main suspect, like, you're probably not going to remember anything that you just did. Especially
with the quality of the movies coming out nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember a single scene from Space Jam 2.
Yeah, it's, you know, very different movies. Space Jam 2 and 12 Angry Men.
That could be an analysis in itself.
Yeah. But, you know, they also point out that at the angle of which the switchblade had been plunged into the murder victim.
Yeah, the chest.
I think it was the height difference.
It was the way he was also handling the blade.
Yeah.
Holding it like he was going to cut onions, not someone was going to stab. You stab up, down, and not the other way around.
Yeah, and so most of these people, you know, start to at least doubt the guilty verdict beyond a reasonable doubt. Like, there is doubt that the prosecutor left, you know.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't have enough evidence to prove anything, and his eyewitnesses seem to want attention.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very happy to go to court and talk.
Mm-hmm. Even
if what they said didn't really make sense once, you know, the jurors went about it in detail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this movie's timeless. It's a classic.
Yeah, and I think, like, one of the most iconic scenes, at least when I think about it, is the juror that kind of goes on that rant that's a little, like, racist and...
Yeah. Once you stop listening to the racist stuff, it starts to get better.
Well, yeah, but, like, that was part of the thing. It was, like, his own prejudice against these people. Yeah. And, like, everybody turned their back on him. And then, like, he finally, like, realized how much of a douchebag he kind of sounded and sat down. And then another juror says, like, sit there and don't say another word.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't until he is prompted to give his verdict again.
Kind of breaks down and says not guilty.
Yeah. Because he, like, realizes that it's his own, like, unhealthy way of thinking that's, I think, stopping him from seeing the truth, or at least seeing the... What's kind of obvious and to everybody else, maybe.
Yeah, the movie's super well crafted. Mm-hmm. I love movies set in one location. I love the claustrophobic feeling they give out.
Yeah.
And this was super well written. Obviously, the director himself did this before, the concept, for live television.
Yeah.
And that, I guess, went over well enough that they made it into a feature length. And it really works. It's super well written, super tight. You really feel satisfaction with everything they do. You're kind of feeling what they feel. You're living in their moment.
Mm-hmm.
And you follow, especially jurors number 8 reasoning as to why there is doubt and he's not sure if he's guilty or not.
Yeah. And I just have to kind of wonder, like, it's not really, like, a thing of importance, but if this was, like, a trial that the stakes weren't as high, like, if it wasn't a death sentence, like, let's say it was 10 to 15 years, like, would... Even though juror number 8 was the champion of, like, let's examine this more, would he have done it if it was a lighter sentence?
I don't know. Juror number 8, I think, he said, let's think about it. Let's not just say he's guilty. Mm-hmm. Because there was doubt in his head. And even if there wasn't doubt, this is a man's life you're talking about.
Yeah.
So sit down, talk about it for a second. even if you conclude that he is guilty, at least you gave yourself time to reach that conclusion.
Yeah. I just kind of wonder if, like, in different circumstances, like different sentencing, if anybody would have, like, thought twice about it, you know?
I kind of think it has to be this high.
Yeah.
The stakes have to be high for the movie to work.
Yeah.
It wouldn't work, for shoplifting or
yeah.
Grand Theft Auto. Like, that wouldn't work out.
Yeah.
It had to be life sentence.
Or death sentence.
Yeah. It had to be the man's life to really make 12 other men think about it.
Mm-hmm. And I do think it, like, points out that, like, there is a little bit of a flaw in the system when you do get 12 of your peers to judge you. Yeah. Because, like, I
mean, it's hard regardless of the system. People complain about every system.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't have any ideas of how you could make it better. I'm not here to pretend that I know how to make it better, but it is like a flaw. And, like, if you as somebody who is on trial for something that is so high stakes, like, it's kind of discouraging because you know that humans are like this. That the majority of people just want to get in and get out.
And if you're the person being accused, if you're the defender in this case, it looks pretty bad for you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same thing with, like, we just watched another, like, a more recent movie, Just Mercy. Yeah. That's kind of not the same. No. But, like,
it is about the flaws of the system.
Yeah, you can be totally innocent.
Yeah, that's the point of Just Mercy's people. They are innocent being put on death row.
Yeah. Or, like, that are all later.
Yeah, but that's a different movie. If you want us to talk about that one, you could tell us.
But I'm just bringing it up as, like, a point of illustration. Like, it's scary to think that it's kind of easy to pin you on something, you know? Even if you didn't do it.
I mean, if someone was angry at their father and they did say, "I'm going to kill you," they stormed out, and then they find a dead body, you would think he did it.
Yeah, like the neighbors, I don't blame the neighbors for thinking he did it.
Well, the neighbors were lying, though.
Well, I don't think they were necessarily lying. I think they just kind of misremembered. They weren't telling the
truth.
Yeah, I mean, no, I don't think it's like that. I don't think that they were maliciously...
I don't know, they kind of imply that, though. They kind of imply both of them wanted attention.
Yeah, they wanted attention, but, like, I don't know. I don't know how to... I don't think that, like...
This is a great movie to discuss, and I think that's part of the reason why it's so highly rated. I think this is number 5 on IMDb.
Maybe. I'm not sure.
I think it's number 5 on IMDb. I don't know about Letterboxd, but it's probably very high as well.
Yeah, because it's a good
I would assume it's in the top 15, something like that. Maybe top 10.
Yeah.
It's in every single list of best movies of all time, and it makes a lot of sense. Because it's not only well done and relevant at all points, it's also so timeless because it's never going to go away.
Yeah, it's very timeless, I think, because it's like this concept is never going to go away.
The system's always going to be flawed. People are always going to be accused of stuff they didn't do, and everyone else is going to believe they did it.
And there's always going to be people that are prejudiced against other groups of people.
I think if anything, the internet just amplifies that. If the internet thinks you're guilty, that your life's over. Even if the juries don't think you're guilty, you're forever going to be guilty in the eyes of everyone else.
That's very true, because, like, you think about this trial, there wasn't any cameras or...
It's probably some newspaper, I guess.
Yeah, newspapers, but, like nowadays, if the trial is high profile enough, you could, like, watch it happen live.
Yeah. And even if it's not high profile, you can go on Reddit and people are going to say you're either guilty or not. And they're going to blame someone very harshly, regardless.
Yeah, it's, like, kind of crazy how this movie came out in the 50s and is still so relevant in 2020.
Humans are always going to be flawed. Yeah. And their systems are always going to be flawed. And yeah, this movie's a classic. If you haven't watched it, you really should. I don't know why you haven't watched it. You probably have. But you can always rewatch it. It's a fun rewatch too. It doesn't lose its impact.
No, I'd say it's still very entertaining, even if you watch it multiple times.
You get more and more details. It's very well made on the director's part.
Yeah, I'd say that this is like a testament to his...
I think he put a lot of himself into this too. I think it took a lot out of him because they didn't have the budget, so you went the extra mile.
Budget, yeah.
You went the extra mile and made it very detailed, very well shot.
And performances are great by pretty much everyone involved,
yeah,
I would say.
I mean, it's not like most of them stand out.
No, but it's
Henry Fonda stands out, and then everyone else does a good job.
Yeah, but like that's kind of all you need for a movie.
Yeah, I don't think you'd point out anyone as being the weak link.
So yeah, that's all our thoughts on this. But what did you rate it?
Well, there's a reason this is a classic and why it's regarded so highly, and I will regard it highly as well. I'll give it a 9. I know it's not a 10. I know most people will say it's a 10. Mm-hmm. And I could see that, obviously. It's great. I don't really find any flaws with it. I just, instinctively give it a 9.
I also gave it a 9, mostly because I reserve 10s for, like, movies that that are, like, classics to me, I guess. Like, classics to...
This is not...
It's not, because I hadn't seen it, like, growing up, I guess. I think the first time I saw it were just, like, clips of it in high school.
You only give 10s to movies you watch growing up.
No, but, like... Usually I give 10s to ones that are, like, gut-punching to me. Mm-hmm. And this one doesn't necessarily gut-punch me, but it does.
It's just super well done. There's no flaw. No. But, yeah, it doesn't throw me off my chair.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, if you guys want to give us your thoughts, you can leave a comment if you're able to on the platform that you're listening to this on. And, if you want to like, subscribe, share, always good things. And we really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time.